They say that perfect men don't exist. I used to think so too, until I met Victor in rainy Portland in October 2023. He appeared in my life exactly when I was at my absolute lowest. A broken heart, a suffocating rented apartment, and a job I hated with every fiber of my being. Victor was the embodiment of stability. An architect with impeccable manners, he smelled of expensive tobacco and cedar wood, and his voice enveloped me like a heavy velvet blanket, making me forget everything bad in the world. "You take too much on yourself, Lisa," he would say, gently brushing a stray lock of hair from my forehead. "Just let me take care of you." And I let him. 2 months later, I moved into his country house. It was a masterpiece of minimalism, glass, concrete, and an endless pine forest stretching beyond the windows. No neighbors, no noise. Just the two of us. The first few weeks felt like a dream. Victor knew me better than I knew myself. He knew I couldn't stand cilantro, even though I had never mentioned it. He knew which TV show I loved as a child and found me a rare edition of a book I had only briefly alluded to on our first date. He called me his most important project and promised to make every moment of mine perfect. But it was that very perfection that began to terrify me. It all started with the red dress. Victor gave it to me for our mini anniversary, 3 months together. It fit me so flawlessly. It felt as if it had been sewn directly onto my body. When I put it on, Victor froze. There was no passion in his eyes, only the icy rapture of a collector who had finally acquired a rare exhibit. He asked me to turn around and then whispered, "That's exactly how she was supposed to look." I dismissed it as a slip of the tongue, but a chill already ran down my spine. Soon after, I found what he called the archive. Victor forbade me from entering his office, but one day he left for the city and forgot to lock the door. Curiosity proved stronger than fear. The office was surgically clean, with black folders lining the shelves. I opened one and nearly screamed. There were hundreds of photographs of me, taken 2 years before we even met. Me at the supermarket, me on the subway, me sleeping in my old apartment, taken through the window. He hadn't just met me, he had hunted me, waiting for the moment I would be at my most vulnerable. In the back of a cabinet stood a small safe. The code turned out to be the date we met. Inside were audio cassettes with names, Anna, Maria, Elena, and the last one, not yet signed, with my photo tucked into the sleeve. I put the tape labeled Elena into the player. At first there was silence, then the sound of footsteps and a woman's scream. She begged him to let her go, and Victor's voice, just as calm and velvety as always, replied to her, "You haven't reached the ideal yet, Elena. You've started to argue and ruin the composition. Exhibits don't leave the museum. They stay in it forever." I felt cold sweat break out across my back. I bolted for the exit, but he was already standing in the doorway. Victor wasn't angry. He looked disappointed. He said I had ruined the image, that the perfect Lisa would never have done such a thing. He pressed a hidden panel in the wall, and it slid back noiselessly, revealing a room bathed in soft light. There were display cases. Behind the glass were wax figures, but the skin, it looked too real. One figure wore that same red dress, another wore my pendant. Victor approached me, and in his eyes was a tenderness that made me want to rip my own heart out. He said he wasn't an architect of buildings, but of moments, that a human being decays and ages, but captured in a moment of beauty, they become eternal. He pulled out a syringe and promised it wouldn't hurt, just a compound that would preserve my beauty for centuries, leaving me forever terrified, with wide open eyes. The most sincere moment of my life. I didn't wait. I hurled a heavy bronze statuette from the desk at him and lunged for the window. I struck the tempered glass with a chair again and again until the frame gave way. Victor slowly wiped the blood from his brow, saying that now he would have to reconstruct my face with wax, and he had so wanted naturalness. I leaped into the garden just as his fingers closed around my ankle and ran into the forest. I ran for 3 hours, barefoot over stinging pine needles. a truck driver picked me up on the highway. When the police arrived at the house, it was empty, surgically clean. No folders, no rooms, no figures. The detective told me the house had been vacant for 5 years, and its owner, an architect, had committed suicide back in 2012. They decided I had lost my mind. I would have believed it myself if a package hadn't arrived for me a week later. Inside was a cassette. On it was a recording of my own voice from that morning as I was ordering coffee in my new apartment, and then his voice, that same velvety voice. He said, "A nice moment, Lisa. But you look better in the red dress. We will finish our project soon. I am just waiting for you to become perfect again." Now I am afraid to look into mirrors. In every reflection behind my shoulder, I see the shadow of a man who knows my next thought. He doesn't want to kill me. He wants me to live forever in his gallery. And I know that one day I simply won't be able to turn around.